Mark Levin here. After any presidential election, I take time to reevaluate my own financial investments. That's why I continue to invest in gold for help with my financial protection. When it comes to gold, I only trust Advantage Gold. They're a top gold company in America, and that's who I turn to for my own gold purchases. Call them now at 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000 for a free gold investment kit. And see if you qualify for up to $1,000 in free silver. That's 800-900-8000. And tell them Mark Levin sent you. Performance may vary. You should always consult your financial and tax professional.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
What's up, America? I am Rich Valdes. Valdes with an S. That's Rich Valdes on all of the social media, your liberty-loving Latino amigo, and I'm happy to be here with you. This is the Mark Levin Show. Mark is off for Hanukkah, so happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. And as a Gentile, I'm very happy to be here with you guys this evening. And I want you to check out a few things as we get through the evening. We'll get to them together. But some of you guys might know me. I spent a long time on this show, the Mark Levin Show, as Mr. Call Screener. That's where I got my start in talk radio back in 2018. And for the past few years, I've been hosting the best late night radio show in history. A show once known as the Larry King Show, then known as the Jim Bohannon Show, and now it's known as my show. So check that out if you can. Rich Valdes, America at Night. And yeah, it's pretty cool. I have my own nationally syndicated radio show every single night, late night. We do 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock Eastern in some areas. And it is my pleasure to be with you. So I am a native New Yorker, and I started out in talk radio in New York City. So shout out to my friends at WABC, Mr. C, Chad Lopez, Curtis Sliwa, Sid Rosenberg, and so many others. And we're live tonight from New York City, from the New York City metro area, where, you know, a criminal illegal alien set a woman on fire and watched her burn to death. Yep, that New York. The NYPD caught him on the opposite train platform. I'm sure you've heard this story. It made national headlines. And he was sitting there watching her live her final moments as she burned to death. Well, that scumbag was in court today, and we're going to discuss that in a little bit. Because that was just crazy. And it seems that we go from crazy to crazier. And I'm in the same New York City that New York City Mayor Eric Adams has claimed was a sanctuary city for 3.5 out of the last 4 years. And I think it's so funny to see him sounding a little bit like you, a little bit like me, a little bit like the great one, Mark Levin, and of course like El Trompito, Donaldus Magnus, the 45th president of these United States, El Presidente. And I find it so interesting how he's kind of changed his tune. Now, of course, this begs the question, should we be critical of people who finally come around to seeing things the way that we see them? Or should we be forgiving, like Jesus was? After all, it was his birthday yesterday or 2 days ago. Should we be bitter and say, well, New York gets what New York voted for, screw them all? Or do we take a more moderate approach? Right? And this is one of those things that I think we're going to discuss tonight, because I've never thought it was fair to throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? It just isn't. Now, Eric Adams, though, you know, he particularly, I guess, burns my britches, if you will, to borrow that term. Why? Because I'm a native New Yorker, but I live in Jersey now. So I don't have a direct impact on what happens, but I'm in and out of the city all the time for work and whatnot. And I've been a conservative as long as I could vote. And I would say we probably do have to give Mayor Adams the benefit of the doubt. But we have to ask some serious questions. And not only of him, of everybody else that's coming around. So I want to invite Mayor Adams, if you're listening, or any of your friends, if you're a friend of Mayor Adams or you work with him and you're listening right now, send him a real quick text and tell him we'd actually love to have this conversation with him live and on the air right now. Why? Because I think New Yorkers, but the American people, they deserve to hear this from him, right? Rather than our speculation. And I'm happy to be fair with him. I'm happy to be generous with our time and afford him an opportunity to come clean and tell us what's really going on. Because right now it seems like, you know, he's flip-flopping on issues. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm glad he's flip-flopping. I just want to know if it's genuine, right? For example, I'd like to know, Why didn't Mayor Adams try to persuade the members of the city council to propose a resolution to reverse the sanctuary city status? I mean, after all, he was mayor, right? That comes with the power of being mayor. Now, he may not be able to actually stroke of a pen, do this and do that, but he is the mayor, and he can cut deals. He can persuade people. He can say, look, you need this, I need that, let's make a deal, right? This is politics, after all. But I didn't see him doing any of that. I didn't see anybody. He didn't even try to work with Republicans, like my good friend Vicky Palladino, and say, hey, Vicky, or hey, whomever, right? Any one of the New York City Council members, let's try and overturn this. Let's symbolically try to get this out of committee, to get a vote going to reverse this. The symbolism would have meant everything, even if they couldn't do it. I understand Kathy Hochul says New York's a sanctuary state. But just imagine if the Democrat mayor of New York City, a former cop, were coming out and saying, you know what, look, I'm a Democrat. I believe in the people. But guess what? What we're seeing right now is wrong. This is inhumane. What's happened to the once great Lincoln Center and the once great Roosevelt Hotel and so many other hotels from 59th Street all the way to 42nd Street, the Row, and all the rest of these places. It's an injustice. It's inhumane, right? So why wouldn't he have done that? He didn't even allude to it. In fact, he doubled down until Trump wins. And then maybe a month or three before the election, he starts to kind of soften up on it. And then after the election, it's, you know, he might as well, dye his hair that Trump-colored blonde and put on the MAGA hat. Because he's totally flipped the script here. So, I don't know. Those are some of the questions I'd have for him. Because, like I say, this is that same New York City where we see all these crazy things happening. And it is funny to see how he's switched gears here. And I'd love to have that conversation with him. I really would. Because I think we all deserve to know. Now, I think that would have earned the respect of a lot of voters, right? Because otherwise it just comes across as pandering, kind of repeating conservative talking points for the sake of political expediency. Now, the good news, my amigos, is that 3 weeks after we enjoy our grapes at midnight or our champagne toast or a shot of coquito or the Feast of Seven Fishes or whatever holiday and New Year's tradition you may have, we're going to watch El Trompito, Donaldus Magnus, El Presidente, the 45th president and 47th president of these United States. We're going to watch him get sworn in. Amen. Praise God. Hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus. That's fantastic. But that's where the hard work begins. In history, at least as far as I can tell, there isn't a single quote-unquote swamp that's actually ever been drained. This is going to be, in my opinion, an all-hands-on-deck effort. Otherwise, we're not going to get it done. We have 4 short years. We've got characters like Nancy La Bruja Pelosi and Chucky Schumer who are kind of playing nice lately. And the other characters like Cori Bush and Jamal Bowman, well, they've been booted out of Congress, so they're no longer in the squad. But you still have wackos like my least favorite congresswoman from the Bronx and Queens, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, AOC, all out crazy. And for those of you who've been listening to me since my days on the air in New York City, you know that I had a run-in with AOC about 6 or 7 years ago at the New York City Puerto Rican Day Parade on Fifth Avenue. And she literally tucked tail. She cut and run. She did the dip quick, fast, and in a hurry. Why? Because she didn't want to have a conversation with me on the air about capitalism and socialism. And she was dodging me. Now, like any good leftist, she tried to blame me, saying I was stalking her. I was going after her. I was trying to, debate her at the parade. That's not true. Everybody knows any good radio guy worth his salt wants the interview on the radio. Why would I want to do it at a parade? But the AOCs of the world, they're multiplying, right? AOC isn't running away anymore. Times have changed. Instead, she's on the attack, along with all of her friends on the left. And they've spent the last 4 years coming after your children, coming after your wealth, coming after our American dream. The election that we just experienced in November was a victory and a step towards restoring the American dream, protecting our kids, and creating opportunities for wealth, new opportunities. But from here on out, it's not going to be easy. So tonight, I want to take a look at a few things, right? We've got a lot of issues. We've got all of the issues that are facing America, from immigration to wokeism running amok, the strengthening of our economy, thank God, the restoration of our position as a leader on the world stage. The only collectivist thing that you and I need to do, in my opinion, is to reject the permanent underclass that the left within academia, the left within the media, and the left within the Washington swamp, the deep state, have been trying to create all this time, and that they have created in many ways and strengthened in the last 4 years that Biden was there. Joe El Baboso Biden, I might add. So we're going to get into that as well as the effects that criminal illegal aliens have on all of our communities, the perils of dating, right? On a softer topic, dating has become pretty contentious. There's some interesting stories out there about that. And there's also an interesting story that I want to share with you and get your thoughts on, because I like to do some old school talk radio where we really interact with the callers on a myriad of topics, whether it's the news of the day, current events, popular culture, you name it. Let's talk about it. And one of those things that I saw was one of those DNA companies where, you go to find out your ancestry and whatnot. They might be going belly up. What does that mean for you and your DNA if you're one of those people that's put their information out there, right? Where does that put you? I don't know. I don't know where it puts you. I do know that we need to make sure that we don't inadvertently sell off our DNA to some company that might get hacked, and then the biohacking begins. People can literally, copy your genetic footprint and Lord knows what. That's why I've always been intrigued by that, but I haven't done it yet. So anyway, I'm going to get into that as well as a couple other things. And I want to invite you. I want to invite you to join the conversation with me. We're live. We're national. There's plenty I want to talk about. And before I give you the phone number for my show, I got to make sure I give you the phone number for Mark's show. And that's 800-381-3811. And of course, if you're a lib and you want to debate with me, or you disagree with something I've said, that's cool too. I love that. Let's have that conversation. You call 1-800-381-3811, as Mark says. And I want you to get ready, because over the next 3 hours of live evening radio, this is going to be the best 3 hours of live evening radio you've heard today. So hopefully you're not changing the channel. You're keeping it locked right here with me, Rich Valdes, filling in for the great one,
Mark Levin.
Did you see what the Federal Reserve did literally days after President Trump's victory? It's lowered interest rates by a quarter. Do you know why it did that? It's worried about the economy. It's worried about the fact that jobs aren't being created. We're seeing all kinds of shifts in our portfolios, and it's important to stay aware. That's why I'm urging everyone to diversify and consider gold as one of your financial shields. Now, gold has weathered every kind of economic downturn throughout history. I want you to call Advantage Gold. They're the best of the best, folks. I've dealt with all of them. They're the best. They're my gold company. 1-800-900-8000. Get a free gold investment kit to see how you can get started with gold. I recommend Advantage Gold to anyone who's serious about protecting their wealth, and that's you. Call 800-900-8000 for your free gold investment kit, and you could even qualify for up to $1,000 in free silver. That's 800-900-8000. Call them now. Tell them Mark Levin sent you. You'll be very happy with them. Performance may vary. You should always consult your financial and tax professional.
All right, buenas noches, amigos. Rich Valdes filling in for the great one, Mark Levin. And make sure Mark is off for Hanukkah, but make sure you check out Life, Liberty, and Levin this weekend, 8 p.m. on the Fox News channel. Do not miss it. Life, Liberty, and Levin, one of my favorites. I try not to miss it, and you shouldn't either. And I wanted to get into this topic of this man, this evil Guatemalan criminal, illegal alien, alleged murderer. And I say alleged to play the game, but I think there's enough witnesses. It's pretty open and shut here. This guy did this, and he is literally Satan incarnate, right? Who does this? He brought hell to a subway cart and set somebody on fire. And yet they want to say that the bad guy is El Trompito. They want to say that the bad guy is Tom Homan, the new border czar. Well, Tom Homan was sounding off on his thoughts on this particular case. Check this out.
I want Hochul. I want the mayor of Chicago, the governor, all these sanctuary cities that are speaking out against President Trump and myself running this deportation operation. I want you to watch that video and know how this young lady suffered, what a heroic death she had. I want you to listen to Laken Riley tape for 17 minutes.
Yeah. I want you to listen to that, too. Every last liberal out there, every last person that said that the new Americans, we need to make space for them, for this, for that. Open the doors to your house, open your windows, let them sleep on your couch, right? All these people with their heads in the sky. Anyway, Homan wasn't done there. He went on. He was on Fox News earlier this week, and he wanted to remind the rest of the sanctuary city governors that it's on them if they don't want to remove these public safety threats. Listen to this.
And you think about it, this illegal alien that burned this young lady alive, he probably had a free hotel room, 3 squares a day,
Absolutely.
Gets a free ATM card, gets free medical attention, compliments of the Biden administration. But this young homeless person, she don't have anything. And she died a horrendous death. So I want Kathy, I want Hochul, I want the mayor of Chicago, the governor, all these sanctuary cities that are speaking out against President Trump and myself running this deportation operation. I want you to watch that video and know how this young lady suffered, what a heroic death she had. I want you to listen to Laken Riley tape for 17 minutes, how she fought for her life. That young lady didn't want to die. I want you to realize how these people died. And tell me you still support sanctuary cities. Tell me that you don't want to help me remove public safety threats from the community. President Trump might have been clear. Day one of the deportation operation, we're going to concentrate on public safety threats, and we got elected officials to say they're going to put roadblocks up. Their number one responsibility is protection of the communities. Right. Help us remove public safety threats. Don't be pushing back against us.
So, I think he's pretty clear. And let me tell you, there's few, I would say it's few, and most of you probably agree with me, right? There's few people that you meet and you hear and you see in your travels in life that you come across where you go, that's the guy I want with me in a foxhole. That's the guy I want to be having a beer with when the bar room brawl breaks out. Tom Homan's one of those guys, right? You tell me. If it's going down, I want a guy like Tom Homan to have my back. This guy is he's as real as it comes. He's tried, he's tested, he's true. And I think he's ready for the job. I know he's ready for the job. And I can't wait. They're talking about day one it is. And I think they keep the pressure on. They need to keep the pressure on so that more and more of these people will self-deport to make this easier and easier. Now, only correction I'd have there, and this is, a distinction without a difference here, but he said, courtesy of the Biden administration. Well, that is true. It's really courtesy of you and me, the American taxpayer. And that should enrage you even if you are the craziest lefty out there. And you think, listen, let's give 3 hots and a cot to every last person out there. You've got to, at some point, say, ya basta, esto es suficiente, this is too much. We can't do this anymore. Enough is enough. Anyway, this guy that was accused of setting fire to this woman in New York City on the subway, he was indicted today on charges of murder in the 1st and 2nd degree and arson. His name, Sebastian Zapata Khalil. He's accused of setting fire. You know about that on the F train. By the way, the F train, the line that ran where I grew up, Ocean Avenue, Avenue M, Brooklyn, New York. Shout out to everybody in Midwood. That was my train. The F train, the D train, and the Q train. They all stopped at the Avenue M stop. They still do. And, well, maybe not the F anymore. That's all the way on the other side now. But when I was a little kid, when I would take the alternate line, it would stop over there. Anyway, folks, I'm coming right back. More of you and your thoughts with your calls, 800-381-3811. Don't go anywhere. It's Rich Valdes filling in for the great one, Mark Levin.
The markets are volatile. They're shooting up wildly only to drop without warning. The Fed just cut rates yet again, this time by a quarter point. Why? Because the Federal Reserve is not confident the economy is strong. In fact, last month only 12,000 jobs were created, all of them in the government. That's why I'm telling you again, diversification is crucially important. And diversification with gold is what I do. And the company I use, and I've used many, the best one is Advantage Gold. Call them now at 800-900-8000 for a free gold investment kit to see how gold Gold can help you diversify your investments and take advantage now. Now, gold has been helping to protect and grow wealth for people for thousands of years. And in these times, it can be more crucial than ever. When it comes to gold, I trust Advantage Gold. They're one of the top gold companies in America. They're who I turn to when I purchase gold. Call them now, 800-900-8000. Call 800-900-8000 now for a free gold investment kit to see how gold can help you with your investment portfolio, a.k.a. your bank accounts, your paycheck. And when you do, you could qualify for $1,000 in free silver. That's 800-900-8000. Folks, don't wait. Call them now, 800-900-8000, and tell them Mark Levin sent you. Performance may vary. You should always consult your financial and tax professional.
Mark Levin, making conservatism great again. Dial in now, 877-381-3811.
All right, America, welcome back. Rich Valdes filling in for the great one, Mark Levin. Feliz Navidad. Happy Hanukkah. I want to correct myself. I said the phone number wrong before. I knew I was going to do that. 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. I knew that was going to happen. Mr. Producer, Rich Samantha, knew that was going to happen as well. And he was texting me saying, here's the number. I was like, yeah, I know the number. I've known the number for years. I've done this a bunch of times. I don't know. This is probably my 20th or 22nd time hosting this show over the years. And I was like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. And I messed it up. 877-381-3811. Plus, I'm getting all this incoming messaging, right? You start talking about things on the radio, and the next thing you know, everybody wants to chime in, right? Who's chiming in all of a sudden? I'll share with you right here. My fellow radio host, Curtis Sliwa, who's a mentor of mine, just like the great one, Mark Levin, and the great John Batchelor, all mentors of mine early in my career. He says, correction, I have the best overnight show. Well, I didn't say I had an overnight show, Curtis Sliwa. All right. Thanks for the trolling here, sir. I said that I have the best late night show, right? 9 to midnight, 10 to 1, that type of thing. And that's what I said. And I'll stick with that. And listen, I'm coming for you. I just picked up a dozen new affiliates. A dozen. WMAL-DC. You guys are going to be hearing from me real soon. WTN Tennessee. Real soon. Like Happy New Year soon. KMJ in Fresno. WVLK Lexington, Kentucky, WAPI Birmingham, Alabama. These are all stations the great one Mark Levin is on, and I'm going to be joining him right after his program, so I'm looking forward to that, and about a half a dozen other shows. So how about that, Curtis Sliwa? I'm coming for you, brother. I'm coming for you. He was making fun of me for talking about the F train. I was more of a D train guy, to tell you the truth. Not a Q train, because I'm not a conspiracy guy. But I want to get to your calls in a moment. But first, I want you to hear what the former HUD Secretary, Julian Castro, said about Tom Homan. He was on MSNBC earlier today. Listen to this.
So for Tom Homan to say that, I think it just shows you again the heart of cruelty, the dark heart that he and Trump administration folks have for these migrants. They like to dehumanize them. And the way that he speaks there is also very clinical and bureaucratic, disconnected from the real life of these people, of these human beings. And so I think that what we're in for cruelty part 2 in this administration.
Cruelty. Did somebody get a violin, please? Can somebody, it's almost like the theme song to Mario Puzo's The Godfather, right? I'm about to start crying over here. This is so depressing, the dark heart and cruel. You want to talk about dark hearts and cruelty? Let's talk about your position on abortion, Mr. Castro, you and your friends in the Democrat Party. Let's talk about your position on the economy, how you are bankrupting the future. I have a daughter that just took her last college course. She's going to walk to get her bachelor's degree this May. And another one that is a sophomore. And guess what? I don't feel thrilled about their future, not because of anything they've done, because of everything Joe El Baboso Biden and his teammate, Que Mala Eres. These people have destroyed this economy. An economy that was already on life support that El Trompito breathed new life into. He started doing CPR, trying to bring it back, chest compressions and everything, right? COVID came, Trump said, clear, and they shocked this thing, and we were able to survive that because of the Trump economy. And guess what? Here comes Joe Biden and says, oh, since it's nice and propped up and it's strong, let me start kicking the crap out of this economy to enrich myself and others with my son Hunter and everything that they've done along the way. It's a real shame. And Julian Castro says that it's Tom Homan and the Trump administration that have a dark heart of cruelty. Unbelievable. I want to get your thoughts on this. I see the phone lines are packed already. Lots of calls coming in. Let's talk about what's happening in Dumont, New Jersey with Russ on WABC. Russ, go for it. You're on with Rich Valdes.
Hey, Rich. I just want to say my piece, and I'll let you go.
Sure.
You were talking about Eric Adams before, whether we should give him a chance or not. I say no. He's a turncoat. He's just trying to keep himself out of jail, and he's nothing but bad news. And I think Tom Homan is going to do a great job, I hope. And I think the whole Biden administration with Mayorkas and everybody else should hang for what they did to America. Fauci included.
Listen, brother, I hear you, man. I think everybody wants to see these people hang, wants to see them tried for treason, wants to see them go to jail. And I would agree that what they've done is criminal, right, from your perspective. But from the perspective of the government, these guys have so much cover. And Trump just won that big case in the Supreme Court with immunity. And this is what they're gonna ride that same thing. They're gonna say the speech and debate clause, the U.S. Constitution. We were acting in the best interest of our job, and it's gonna be tough to prove that they did anything knowingly. Right? The best we could do is hold these hearings, and I've got thoughts on hearings later because hearings lead people to believe that some sort of justice is coming, and hearings lead to nothing other than a criminal referral. We all know nobody's going to jail unless you're Peter Navarro or Bannon, right? This is just a crooked system, and it's not going to get better overnight, but it is going to get a lot better over the night of January 20th. That's for sure. Russ in Dumont, I appreciate the call, brother. We will continue. Let's go to a lot of local calls tonight. Let's go to Jerry, Jersey City, also on WABC. Jerry, what's up, brother?
I'm in Passaic. I used to be. Do you remember?
Jerry
I'm the one
in
that was in the
Passaic.
E-Trade commercial.
Yeah, brother. How you been? Haven't talked to you in years.
I know. I've been trying to find you on the night shift, but I haven't.
Oh, listen, I'm easy to find. Go to my website, richvaldes.com. But anyway, talk to me. What's on your mind?
Well, I feel basically that whole January 6th committee ought to be put on trial for treason.
Mm-hmm.
And if convicted, which I think most of them would be convicted, basically be what you do for treason, executed. Because what they've done was a damn shame, and they wasted so much time and money, and they knew it, and they lied like a banshee. And there's not one of them should escape. From Pelosi to Adam Smith to, Adam Schiff.
Adam Schiff. No, he got promoted to being a senator, Jerry. This is what I mean. As much as you and I want to see justice delivered, the real justice is when the voters vote and the people decide, and we've decided. And we got back our guy, El Trompito, Donaldus Magnus, the 45th president of these United States. And can we continue to look in the rearview mirror? I would love to, but I know we're not going to. I know that the job here is not going to consist of putting every last corrupt politician in jail. We're not going to eradicate evil from the world. Maybe some people will be held accountable. That would be great. But the main thing we need to do is turn on that economic engine, the little engine that could, and make sure we all start making money again. Take the power away from Washington, start bringing it back to the people so that people can start to pursue the American dream again like they once did. This way, my kids can have a fighting chance. When I was a young man, and I'm still a young man, I'm only 46, but when I was 19, 18, 17, I was in business for myself. I was an entrepreneur. I had a barbershop, and then I opened up a cell phone place, and I did well. I had 2 brand new cars with 2 car notes. I had no problem paying that, plus the rent on my parents' house. Before I was 20 years old, I did all that. I don't think that's possible today. It's very, very difficult today for people to earn that kind of money, to be able to do all of that. And it's because of what the Democrats have done, the inflated dollar that we have. And until we even things out, either we've got to continue to, everything else is going to have to catch up, right? We're going to have to make enough money to buy these $1 million homes like guys like you in Passaic have. Otherwise, we're not getting anywhere, and we're not getting there fast. Jerry, pleasure to hear your voice. I'm glad you're well. Godspeed to you, my brother. And let me see. Is it time for me to pause here, Mr. Producer? Oh, good. I got time for one more. Excellent. Who do we go to? Who's the next one up? I see. So let's hold him. I don't want to run out of time on that one. What I will do before we go is I want to remind everybody to check out Mark Levin on Life, Liberty, and Levin on the Fox News channel. You don't want to miss that because, of course, Mark is tremendous on radio, but you get to see that more refined side of Mark, right? The ask a really good question and let them do all the answering. And just so you know, the show that I do at late night is an interview show, right? Larry King was famous for interviewing, and that format maintained through the Jim Bohannon years, through my years. And I learned my interviewing skills from the great one, Mark Levin, because he taught me this radio thing. One of the things he told me was, Richie, you got to remember, you're the show. You're the show. You don't need the callers. You don't need the audio. You don't need anything. Just you and your audience. And I always took that to heart. And, you know, coming up through the ranks on WABC, I had to be the show and had to learn how to put on a show. Curtis Lewa was in my ear always telling me, doesn't matter what happens, Richie V, your call screener could die and the board operator could go out to lunch. You just keep talking. You keep talking. You talk right through those breaks. Right? So I learned you keep talking and you be the show. And, of course, John Batchelor, he was infamous for teaching me about how to do, Mr. Valdes, you must be the companion of everyone listening in your day part, which, of course, for me is the night part. And I put all of that together, and I've learned that it's very important to do all of those things. And you let people talk. You ask one good question, like Mark Levin taught me, and you let them go. So that's what I do. And that's what he does. So check him out on Life, Liberty, and Levin. Now, I'm going to do more of your calls when we come back. Plus, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my Christmas. We're going to hear a little bit about your Christmas, and we're going to set up for the rest of the following 2 hours, which are going to be very, very exciting. You know, presuming I don't get any more trolling emails. Just kidding. Much love to my friends. And don't go anywhere. I'm Rich Valdes, in for the great one.
Mark Levin.
Did you see what the Federal Reserve did literally days after President Trump's victory? It's lowered interest rates by a quarter. Do you know why it did that? It's worried about the economy. It's worried about the fact that jobs aren't being created. We're seeing all kinds of shifts in our portfolios, and it's important to stay aware. That's why I'm urging everyone to diversify and consider gold as one of your financial shields. Now, gold has weathered every kind of economic downturn throughout history. I want you to call Advantage Gold. They're the best of the best, folks. I've dealt with all of them. They're the best. They're my gold company. 1-800-900-8000. Get a free gold investment kit to see how you can get started with gold. I recommend Advantage Gold to anyone who's serious about protecting their wealth, and that's you. Call 800-900-8000 for your free gold investment kit, and you could even qualify for up to $1,000 in free silver. That's 800-900-8000. Call them now. Tell them Mark Levin sent you. You'll be very happy with them. Performance may vary. You should always consult your financial and tax professional.
All right, amigos, welcome back. Rich Valdes filling in for the great one, Mark Levin. Feliz Navidad. Happy Hanukkah. It's Friday night. I'm with you until, 9 o'clock Eastern time. Man, that's a blast. I love doing this day shift. It's really, really fun. Anyway, the phone number, if you want to join the conversation, is 877-381-3811. If you're a lib, you want to argue, you know the number, 877-381-3811. And I want you to hear what Chuck Schumer had to say at a press conference he did just today. He says, we dodged a bullet regarding Kamala Harris, the Vice President of the United States. Check this out.
To my Republican colleagues, I offer a word of caution in good faith. Take care not to misread the will of the people, and do not abandon the need for bipartisanship. After winning an election, the temptation may be to go to the extreme. We've seen that happen over the decades, and it's consistently backfired on the party in power. So instead of going to the extremes, I remind my colleagues that this body is most effective when it's bipartisan. If we want in the next 4 years the Senate to be as productive as the last 4, the only way that will happen is through bipartisan cooperation.
Chucky Schumer knows that the American people dodged a bullet with Kamala Harris. He knows it. He knows it. You know what? I'm not an expert on politics, but I did serve time in, not in prison, no. I served time in the State House in New Jersey. as part of the Christie administration. And before that, I was very active in observing local politics, very active with my local Republican club and whatnot. And I can tell you this. Oftentimes when there's an election for anything, for the smallest of offices, and you don't have a candidate to put up, sometimes they run unopposed, but oftentimes just for the sake of, grooming and cultivating a bench, you put a candidate up that isn't going to win, and you have no intention of winning. You just, you say, let's try and make some gains. We need to bring more women into the party. We're trying to hold on to the X, Y, and Z ethnicity vote. Let's put up this person and let's see what we get. If we know we're going to lose, let's put up somebody that, never has a shot of winning, but maybe we could gain a little. And in my opinion, that's what happened with Kamala Harris. And this is why, for those of you that listen to my show, Rich Valdes, America at Night, you guys know very well that all along I said I would much rather see Trump run against Kamala Harris because I felt she was extraordinarily beatable. Extraordinarily beatable. Because people don't change overnight. Just because they try to hide her doesn't mean she changed. Right? We knew. Right? We knew the cackle. We knew how she was. We knew how she rolled. So in reality, we, the American people, we did dodge a bullet. And Schumer's telling us not to misread that because we need to continue to be bipartisan. Now, guess what? I think there are things where bipartisan is good, like, fighting terrorists and protecting the homeland, making sure the border is secure. But they mean bipartisan as capitulating to the left, horse trading, or compromise. Compromise is a part of government. I get that. But the reality is what they want is their cake and eat it too. And I've got to say, I don't think that's going to happen. But I want to know what you guys think. Let me see. Let's go to Cliff. He's in Vallejo, California, KSFO. Cliff, are you there?
Rich, what's cracking with you, Rich, man? I appreciate your topic, man.
Thank you, brother.
You know what I'm saying is by the grace of God, man, that we, where we at right now, you kind of stole my thunder with all the, you understand what I'm saying? Well, we dodged the bullet talk because
that wasn't me.
Exactly
that was Chuck Schumer.
You know what I'm saying, man? But that's exactly what America did, man. We actually, as the American people and the people who really love this country, I'm a vet, I'm an Air Force veteran.
And, thank you for your service.
And we dodged the bullet, man, and that's exactly what it is, man. But you know what? We got a beautiful thing coming up in 2025, man. I'm looking at this new year with optimism, man. Put all the hate aside, man. Put all that other stuff aside, man, and let's flow together in one accord as Americans, man, and make this country great again.
Wow. Amen, Clifton. And you're spot on, brother. And I appreciate that because let me tell you, I believe, and I could be wrong, but I used to have this argument with my brother, many years ago. And I used to tell him, listen, everybody is always on deck to do the right thing when they have money in their pocket. Guess what? The hood isn't dangerous when everybody's working, when everybody's eating. Things get dangerous when people are going hungry, right? There's a rap song that says, if I ever go broke, I'm going to take your money. And that's the reality of life. The big fish will eat the little fish. But if everybody's doing okay and they're not going broke, they don't have to take your money. And that's what makes us get along. That's when people can see the red, white, and blue because they have the green in their pocket. And that's just how it is, and that's how it needs to be. Cliff, thank you, brother. Godspeed to you. I appreciate it. Happy New Year. Folks are coming right back with the rest of your calls. I see we got calls from D.C., calls from Alabama, calls from Texas, calls from California. Stay tuned. Another hour is coming up straight ahead. It's me, Rich Valdes, filling in for the great one, Mark Levin.
This segment of the podcast is exclusively sponsored by Pure Talk. Pure Talk offers great coverage and can save your family money on your wireless bill every single month. Go to puretalk.com to find the plan that's right for you. Thank you again for listening, and thank you so much for this sponsorship, Pure Talk.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
What's up, America? I am Rich Valdes, Valdes with an S, at Rich Valdes on all of the social media. Your liberty-loving Latino amigo. Happy to be here filling in for the great one, Mark Levin. Mark is off for Hanukkah. Make sure you check out his all-new Life, Liberty, and Levin on the Fox News channel tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And we're going to get into a bunch of things tonight. We had a pretty good conversation in the last hour. Lots of folks that are on hold. I want to get to your calls momentarily. But a few things I want to lay out to kind of set the table for us, because there's a few things I'm looking at here, right? And not even what I had planned, but that's the beauty of live radio, right? It's not TV. There's no teleprompter, so nobody's controlling what I say, and I love that. Not that that's not a dig on TV. That's just saying, it's kind of hard to, breaking news, right? But I'm looking at the this headline. Where did it go? Here it is. Yeah, the media's, some of the media, the left within the media, always trying to drive a wedge between you and me, between the people of this country, between the left and the right, between anything they can, right? It's the divide and conquer mentality that they have. And one of the headlines I'm seeing here is Battle of the Bulge. Musk and RFK Jr. on collision course over weight loss drugs. And when you open it up, it's a piece in the Daily Beast, not a right-wing publication by any standard. Elon Musk dramatically puts MAGA split with RFK on display. Now, is it really that serious? I don't think so. Basically, what they're saying is Elon Musk is picking a fight in Donald Trump's inner circle with a Christmas challenge to RFK Jr. Musk posted a photo of himself on Twitter dressed up as Santa Claus, saying this, Ozempic Santa. And he looks, pretty slim in the picture. Now, he followed up with a message that quickly went viral, saying, like a cocaine bear, but Santa and Ozempic. Which, funny, but to some. But anyway, he says, technically it's Mounjaro, Musk added, but that doesn't have the same ring to it. He was referring to the weekly injection that's approved by the FDA for diabetes management, which has a side effect of weight loss because it lowers your appetite because of something called a GLP-1 hormone that gets regulated by this drug. So Musk is gloating over this, trim figure and talking about this drug Mounjaro. But some say he's trolling RFK Jr. because Bobby Kennedy once said that we would make the first line of response lifestyle. And this is interesting, right? Now, is it really interesting? No, of course lifestyle is where it's at. But clearly lifestyle wasn't working, and that's why we have fat people. And I say this to you as a fat person. Right, as Mark would say, fatties united. F you. But the reality is, if life were really that simple, there would be no show about people that are 600 pounds and the life that they live on the cable channels. Right? That's just the reality of things. Wouldn't happen. Why? Because people like to eat. A mí me gusta comer, right? Manja. A lot of people like to eat. There are a lot of cultures that are fat because of their cultural desire to eat. And does that make them unhealthy? In some circles, yes, and others, no. I mean, this is all debatable stuff, right? There was a study that came out, I don't know if it was last year or the year before, about red wine. And they were saying that red wine is managing the blood pressure of folks in Italy. This was conducted in Italy, this particular study. And I'm quoting this from memory, because I think it was last Christmas that I was talking about this, but it just came to mind. So they're saying that even though they have a high pasta diet and this, that, and the other, that somehow, because red wine was helping them with their blood pressure, that they were healthier in terms of blood pressure than Americans were at the same weight. I believed it, but then it becomes another question. What kind of red wine are they using? Does it have sulfates the way the wine in the United States has sulfates? Right? That's why I like Bobby Kennedy at HHS and hopefully overseeing everything on food and drug and all that down the line, because these are things we need to ask ourselves. As you're putting together these bottles of wine from other places, importing them, and there's preservatives, they add the sulfates for whatever reason, to preserve, et cetera, And this isn't good for you, right? And there's a lot of things in our food that isn't good for us, but it helps people make more money. And because of that, we've gotten used to it. Well, anyway, they're still posting this as this match between Musk and Bobby Kennedy. But I don't think so. I mean, Musk has been outspoken about his support for pharmaceutical assistance in shedding pounds. And in a tweet, right? Listen to this one. This is a good one. December 11th, 2024, Musk writes, "Nothing would do more to improve the health, lifespan, and quality of life for Americans than making these types of weight loss and diabetes management drugs known as GLP-1 inhibitors super low cost to the public. Nothing else is even close." And I'm guessing this is because he's looking and saying, what's the number one thing killing people in our country? Well, likely they come up with cancer, they come up with diabetes, they come up with this, that, and the other, obesity. All of that stuff gets managed by keeping people's weight down. If we could manage all of that, you get less fat people, less heart attacks, less cardiovascular disease, less people going blind, all of it, just for taking these shots. That help them regulate this thing. So the question that some ask is this something that's wrong with people? And this is fixing what's wrong with them. And of course, there's always the proverbial person that says, well, I don't want to be on this thing for the rest of your life. Okay, then be fat. That's the alternative. Be fat and eat everything, right? Everybody has choice in life. I can tell you, I was fat, 269 pounds, just under 5'8", and I was like a meatball. Yep. Quickly approaching 300 with the way I ate. I ate everything, absolutely everything. I got divorced. I lost a little bit of weight, not a lot, maybe 20, 30 pounds. Probably at my best 40. So I went from 270 to, let's say, 240. And I stayed at 240 for years. Today, I fluctuate between 188 and 194, let's just say. How did I do it? Well, a lot of things. Over a year ago, I started going to the gym, doing the treadmill, and that helped. But all that did was make me hungry. Then I started the keto diet. Actually, I started that first, and that worked wonderfully. I lost 40 pounds right away, got me down to 200 pounds. And then it's been a struggle to get rid of the rest. You know, I go to the gym now, but I don't do cardio anymore. Now I do weight training. And it's a lot harder. And it's a lot harder to sweat with weight training, for me at least. And because I'm not as fast in doing the reps. But what I can say is it does help to keep off the weight. It does make me stronger. I do feel healthier. And I think in sum, from 269 to where I got to 188, that's about, I think that's 80 pounds or so in that time frame, right? Or close to it. And yeah, I do feel better. I do feel a lot better, but I'm still very hungry. Still very, very hungry all the time. So it really becomes something my doctor told me, which was this is all about, all of it is going to be 95% diet or 90% diet, 5% medication or supplements, and 5% exercise. And that was how he got me to do it. Because I said, you know what? Eating a steak every day sounded a little brutal. And it was. Some of my numbers, cholesterol and stuff like that went up, but then you manage it. Once you get tired of that, you switch to fish, to chicken, and then go back to the red meat. And that's how I do it, and I still do it. I've introduced some carbs, and as soon as I introduce them, I see the weight gain. All right, I go from that really trim feeling of 188, 186, whatever it was, my lowest, to 190, then to 194. Very quickly, just that one piece of bread and all of that, eating the burger with bread instead of the burger with lettuce, like I did with keto. So for me, carbs are the enemy all the time. But my weightlifting friends will tell me you need the carbs or your muscles won't grow. So it's a catch-22, and you got to figure out the route that works for you. But my point is, somebody taking a GLP-1 inhibitor to control their diabetes, that's something they have to do. If they have the added benefit of weight loss along with it, super, okay, terrific, no problem. Does that mean that they're somehow negating what Bobby Kennedy says about being healthy and about not using pharmaceuticals, right? He said we have to restore America as the global example of health and well-being, not through pills or syringes, but through character and self-discipline. I don't think that helping sick people with medicine is necessarily going to prevent them from developing those things. You could do both, right? I think you could take the GLP-1 shots, lose the weight, manage your diabetes, go to the gym, work out, and eat good. So you can do them all. And that's my point. I don't think that this is the way the media is painting it to be, but this is the way they like to paint it because this is what the media does. And in that same vein, now they're asking other questions, right? Here's this one. Listen to this one. How much time do I have, Mr. Producer? All right, yeah, I got time for this. So listen to this one now. This is about this guy, Luigi Mangione, right? He is not the brother of Mario from the Mario Brothers game. This is the guy who allegedly murdered the United Healthcare CEO. And I want to get into a bunch of stuff about that, but I'm trying to find this headline here. Again, another divisive headline on Drudge, of all places. And listen to this. Will Mangione get away with it? Will the jury let him off the hook? And my question here is, are we as a people that cold? Are we really going to begin to justify the murder of people? And this goes back to what we were talking about in the last hour, right? Where a lot of people are calling and saying these people are treasonous. They should be tried and hanged and put to death and all that. That's why I don't buy into that rhetoric, right? And I realize that when was the last time you saw somebody embezzle money from a government, local government, state government, federal government, and get put to death? I'll wait. I haven't seen that. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. I mean, other than Ethel and whatever her husband's name was back in the days with their spying and treason and whatnot, sedition, we don't see that very often. Now, you could argue the reason we don't see that, Rich, is because we're not holding people to account. We have a two-tiered system of justice. That may, in fact, be true. But how do we get it to be a one-tiered system? What do? Fire all those people? Okay, we fire them. Now we have no justice system. Now, I'm not defending the swamp. I'm just saying I think we have to be realistic, right? You could take all the jiu-jitsu classes in the world, but unless you're like one of those champion Gracie jiu-jitsu fighters that can take down a 7-foot guy that's, a pro boxer or whatever, it's not going to happen. The reality of life is the reality of life. And you got to take things, how do you eat an elephant? One small bite at a time. That's it. The journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step. Whatever cliche you want to use. That's the bottom line here. And that stuff isn't going to happen overnight. So anyway, coming back, I want to get your thoughts on this. Do we let this guy go? Is the jury going to let Luigi Mangione get away with murder? Because they agree that healthcare costs are too high, and maybe someone in their family was also the victim of unscrupulous practices by a health insurance company. Is it now open season on healthcare employees? And if so, do we stop at the CEO? Do we keep going? I'm not inciting violence. I'm not asking you to do this. I'm asking for your thoughts and opinions on a talk show on radio, because I think the whole thing is nuts. Anyway, you know the number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. Rich Valdes in for the great one, Mark Levin.
Mark Levin.
You voted big government out and efficient government in. Well, now it's time to trim the fat from big wireless. If you're still on the other big name providers, I have one question. Why? Pure Talk, my cell phone company, gives you the exact same service on the exact same towers with better customer service because they're based right here in the United States, all for half the cost. That's right. There's simply no need to spend $85 or $100 per person on your wireless bill, not when you could get unlimited talk, text, and 15 gigs of data with mobile hotspot, just $35 a month. My friends, the average family of four could save about $1,000 a year with Pure Talk while enjoying one of America's most dependable 5G networks. So cut the fat out of your wireless bill. Switch to Pure Talk by going to puretalk.com/Levin. Again, puretalk.com/LEVIN, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month with Pure Talk, America's wireless company.
All right, amigos, welcome back. Rich Valdes live with you till 9 p.m. Eastern Time, all across America on the Mark Levin Show. Mark is off for Hanukkah, So you get me, the former Mr. Call Screener on the Mark Levin Show. Now I have a big radio show of my own, I'm very proud to say. I'm on every single night. You can learn more about that at richvaldes.com. But right now I want to get to your calls, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. I tweeted out the wrong number, by the way. I put 800, so forgive me. But I want to get to your calls. Susan, Corning, New York, WABC, go right ahead.
Hey, formerly Susan of Brooklyn. A big
Susan
fan
from
of
Brooklyn,
yours.
how are you? Merry Christmas.
Hey,
Feliz
baby.
Navidad.
Yes, and Mark Levin. I mean, it's so great to hear you. I'm going to really start following you seriously. But,
Thank you.
This is a very important topic about basically the prescription drugs versus proper eating. Now, I've had some training in integrative medicine and nutrition, and they say there's junk and then there's food. They are not the same thing.
Yeah.
If you take these drugs to so-called, just because you lose weight doesn't mean you're healthy. So if you use those drugs to lose weight for vanity purposes, when certain people really need them to live, and you then go back to junk food, which is very addictive. And it's not junk food. It's junk or it's food.
Right.
And
yeah, it's a really good distinction, Susan, that you're making. And I agree with that. And I would also say, I don't know the numbers, but I don't think that the majority of people on these drugs are people that are food abusers per se. And I think it's important that we look at that for what it is, only because I looked at all this stuff and I realized, you've got people that are very, very much addicted to food. Now, they could be addicted to food or they could be addicted to junk, as you say. And I think that's where RFK Jr. comes in and he starts teaching people, listen, you can't eat a bunch of cheese corn puffs and with all sorts of dyes and this and that and all sorts of carbs and wash it down with a diet soda and think that you're going to be okay. And just because you're taking these shots, you're okay. That may in fact work, but it won't work for long, right? I think it's kind of counterintuitive. I think you're going to get the best results if you use it as a way to manage whatever health issue you have. I would say type 2 diabetes for most fat people. And ultimately, then what happens is because you've lost weight, you have a little more energy, you're feeling a little bit more like a man or like a woman or whatever you identify as. And you say, you know what, I'm going to the gym, I'm going to feel better. And I say Godspeed to you if you're doing that. Susan from Brooklyn and also now from Corning, New York, moving closer to Hochul. Nice to hear from you. Happy Hanukkah to you, Susan. And Merry Christmas. Folks, I'm coming right back. The rest of your calls, we got calls from the Bronx, D.C. Swamp, L.A., Pennsylvania, L.A. again. Don't go anywhere. It's Rich Valdes filling in for the great one, Mark Levin.
You voted big government out and efficient government in. Well, now it's time to trim the fat from big wireless. If you're still on the other big name providers, I have one question. Why? Pure Talk, my cell phone company, gives you the exact same service on the exact same towers with better customer service because they're based right here in the United States, all for half the cost. That's right. There's simply no need to spend $85 or $100 per person on your wireless bill, not when you could get unlimited talk, text, and 15 gigs of data with mobile hotspot, just $35 a month. My friends, the average family of four could save about $1,000 a year with Pure Talk while enjoying one of America's most dependable 5G networks. So cut the fat out of your wireless bill. Switch to Pure Talk by going to puretalk.com/Levin. Again, puretalk.com/LEVIN, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month with Pure Talk, America's wireless company.
Mark Levin, America's Paul Revere. Call him now at 877-381-3811.
All right, amigos, welcome back. Rich Valdes filling in for the great one, Mark Levin. Make sure you check him out this weekend, Saturday night, 8 p.m. on the Fox News Channel with a new Life, Liberty, and Levin. You don't want to miss that. Mark is off for Hanukkah. I am blessed and privileged to sit in this chair in the bunker, and I'm happy to be here. Of course, you want to learn more about me, go to my website, richvaldes.com. Check it out. Follow me on Twitter. Follow my podcast and my radio show if you can. I'd love that. And by the way, speaking of that, I'm coming to a bunch of Mark's affiliates, a whole bunch of them. We got KARN, Little Rock, Arkansas, KKOH, Reno, Nevada, WMAL, DC, WTN, Nashville, KMJ out of Fresno, WVLK, Lexington, Kentucky, WAPI, Birmingham, Alabama, and Birmingham. And I don't know how to read right now. And, of course, a handful of others I'll get to in a little bit. But a pleasure to expand the show. We're on hundreds of stations right now, and it really is an honor. 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811 if you want to sound off on the topics we're discussing. And part of what we've been discussing tonight, let me see, we talked about immigration, and specifically this heinous act of torching someone on the New York City subway, and how that's just the beginning. Remember, what the left does in New York, what the left does in California, will make its way to a theater near you before you know it. It's coming to a neighborhood near you. Trust me, it happens every single time, right? Remember the BLM riots and all those protests? Yep. Everybody ended up seeing that. Even good old Tiananmen Tim Walz, right? Him and his wife were sticking their heads out their window, smelling the aroma of burning tires as the left was rioting and burning and looting and all the crazy marauding that they were doing all over the place in the Midwest. And just crazy town. Anyway, speaking of crazy town, I want you to hear what this TikToker said. Now, this guy believes an advocate for the LGBTQ community. That's my assessment based on the lisp, but not making fun of the lisp. I have one of my own. But he says that he's upset because people are saying Merry Christmas. And he thinks that, we're a little off if we say Merry Christmas. Listen to this.
Wishing people a Merry Christmas when you don't know what holiday they celebrate is sort of like wishing someone a happy birthday when you don't know when their birthday is. Like, yeah, I get the sentiment, but you're a little off. That's neither here or there, but I get a kick out of the people who insist on saying Merry Christmas instead of just saying Happy Holidays. Happy Holidays, everybody.
Now, this guy would hate me. Why? Because I use Merry Christmas literally all year round. You can ask my friends, and I'm always like, hey, Merry Christmas. Right? And I use Merry Christmas. Why? Because it makes people laugh, honestly. And they say, but it's June. I tell them, well, I'm early for next year. What are you going to do? I love celebrating that. I love Christmas is really one of the best times of the year. 4th of July, also great time of the year. These are, my favorite holidays. It's when I get together with my family. We have a good time. If you're Puerto Rican like me, we have pasteles and lechon, right? The pernil, the roast pork shoulder, arroz con gandules, the rice with the chickpeas. Pasteles are ground plantains with diced up pork inside, wrapped in a banana leaf. It's just fantastic. But it could be an acquired taste for some. It's like a Cuban tamale almost. But anyway, my point is, as we're all celebrating Christmas and whatnot, and Mark is off for Hanukkah, happy Hanukkah to all of our Jewish friends, what's the big deal? Right? Really, what's the big deal? I grew up in a neighborhood in Brooklyn that was very Jewish. And there was a big Catholic church, and there's a lot of everything. Nobody had a problem with any of it. It was, hey, happy Hanukkah, hey, Merry Christmas, hey, whatever. That was it. Happy holidays didn't become a thing till I was like 16 or 17 years old. That everywhere you went, it was happy holidays. Don't say this. Don't say Christ. Don't say Christmas. That's when, the left really started kicking it into high gear. And here we are, and people saying we're a little off now because we say Merry Christmas. To that I say, Feliz Navidad, pendejo. Anyway, let's get to some of the calls here because I know you guys wanted to chime in on some of this stuff as well as the health care. Let's go to Vincent, Los Angeles, California, calling us on KRLA. The Answer. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi, Rich. This is Vincent. Hey, I wanted to know, why is it that Republican policies always revolve around squeezing the common man and refusing to let the rich pay anything?
Well, which policy are you talking about?
So permanent tax cuts for the top 1% in corporations and temporary peanuts for everybody else.
Well, I don't know. Listen, I've never been in the top 1%. It's a goal of mine to be in the top 1% and to become a global elite, but I never seem to achieve that goal, Vincent. But I can tell you this. Every time that there's been a tax cut on the rich, I have benefited. It's the funniest thing. I've never been given a job by somebody who was poor. Even the middle class, right? They give out jobs because they're able to, for example, let's say you have a landscaping company. By that I mean, maybe you have a zero turn, maybe you have a handheld push lawnmower, a weed whacker, a chainsaw, a trimmer, and a pickup truck. And you drive around until you make enough money to buy a trailer to attach to your pickup truck. How do you make your money? Well, you go door to door. You're dealing with your neighbors, right? You're dealing with the middle class. But one day, game changer. Somebody says, wow, your lawn looks great. They're at your house for a barbecue. And you go, yeah, no, I use Vincent out in L.A. He's really good. He's got a great landscaping company. And they say, really? Oh, wow, man, listen, I do procurement at my job. And our facilities guy is looking for a new landscape. Does he do corporate accounts? I don't know, but I'll give you his number. I'll call him if you like. Connect you guys. And now the next thing you know, I'm at my backyard barbecue and I'm connecting somebody to Vincent the landscaper. And now Vincent the landscaper is about to get a contract for, I don't know, 10, 15, 20,000 a month to do this corporate campus. He's got to hire new guys. All of a sudden, all of his female cousins and their husbands, all their husbands now have jobs because you're like, hey, look, your husband's sitting on the couch. Guess what? I got this new gig and I need more guys. I'm going to have to buy another truck. I'm going to have to buy a trailer. I'm going to have to buy all this stuff. And voila. There goes the tax cuts for the billionaires and the corporations finding its way into your pocket and into the pockets of the people that you employ. And this happens that's just one example of many. Happens all the time. And when people have these tax cuts, another example, big corporation has a tax cut. What do? They say, well, we have more money. They're not looking to fire people. They want to make more money. How do you make more money? They do more of what they do. They hire more people and they make more money, more stuff, more service, whatever they do. So guess what? More jobs are created. Now more people are working for big companies getting those wretched healthcare benefits. And that's the reality of life. So I wouldn't say that every Republican policy squeezes the middle class. Now, I'm not going to argue the point that I think there's pressure on the middle class because I don't even really believe in this class system, to be honest with you, Vincent. Right? I believe that there is a working class, and I don't think it's lower and middle. I think there's some middle income earners and lower income earners, but I think everybody's there at different points in their life. And to make a separate example, I use myself. Right? When I was a young man, 16, 17, high school, I was a senior in high school. I opened a business with my brother's help. I had no idea what I was doing, but I did it. And I think I was 16 going on 17. So before my 17th birthday, that first year, I'd made $50,000. And I was like, wow, I'm rich. I felt rich. The year was 1997 or 1998. And I was like, man, this is great. And I thought I was the best thing since sliced bread. God bless America. And, that's how you make a conservative nowadays, right? You put a little money in their pocket early on. So I did this because I was able to make moves. I had a little bit of a talent. I went to school. I became a barber, all this stuff. But my point is, I don't know that we can do all of that today. How are we able to do that again today? Well, the only way to do it is to roll back taxes. If Trump comes in and says, you know what? Because I want to squeeze the middle class, I'm going to eliminate taxes on tips. Because I want to squeeze the middle class, I am going to eliminate taxes on Social Security. Those don't sound like policies that would hurt the middle class to me. Do they sound like that to you, Vincent?
Well, Republicans were the first ones to add a tax to Social Security and unemployment. So if you really think that, then you despise the Reagan administration for doing it in the first place.
I despise Republicans and Democrats that raise taxes. I'm not here to be beholden to Reagan and his administration or Mark Levin, who worked in that administration, or anybody else. I don't like taxes. And I will cheer Trump and sing his praises as long as I can if he's able to eliminate, abolish, destroy, and make disappear the IRS. Will it happen? I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. Sometimes I pretend to have one during election time, but I really don't. I have no idea if he's going to be able to pull off such a feat of success for the American people. But I'll tell you this, if you agree with me that we should not have an IRS, and it sounds like you might, because you think that the squeeze is on the middle class, I think there's more people paying taxes in the middle and upper incomes than at the bottom. And if you want to alleviate the middle and the upper income people, then you eliminate taxes, at least on income, and let it be a consumption tax of some sort. And guess what? We've solved a lot of problems. Vincent, thank you for your call, my brother. Shout out to everybody listening tonight on KRLA, The Answer, Los Angeles, California. And let me see, where else do we want to go here? I want to go to Susan, calling us from Toronto, California, listening online, streaming the show. Suzanne, excuse me. Suzanne, go right ahead.
Thank you. It is Suzanne.
Hi, Suzanne.
I just want to make a point. I think it's hilarious that Trump would want to have Canada. I don't think Trump nor even Elon Musk could deal with the Quebec issue, the Frenchie issue. We've been trying to deal with this here for eons. I've been born here since the 50s.
Since you were born.
And in the 50s, and we've never been able to deal with that. And I would defy Mr. Trump or Mr. Musk to be able to deal with that. So why the hell would they want Canada?
Well, I'll tell you this, Suzanne. Look, I'm with you on this one. I don't believe anybody wants anything, right? I'm old enough to remember the first Trump administration where Trump said, let's buy Greenland. Let's buy Greenland. Let's sell Puerto Rico. These are things. Look, Trump is a very masterful politician, and even better at his politicianness. I'm going to use that word that I just made. Is his ability to run circles around the legacy corporate media. He's great at it. He knows the next three things they're going to do before they even do it. So he says stuff. He kind of gives them work to do. He's like, you know what are we going to take a few days off? Christmas is coming soon. We already won the election. How do we stay in the headlines? What can we say? What can I do? How about I buy Canada? Why don't we make it the 51st state? Forget making Puerto Rico the 51st state, folks. We're going to get Canada. We're going to make Trudeau governor of Canada. He's just so good at this. He paints the picture. Go ahead, go that way. You know who did this also, believe it or not? They don't give him credit for it. George W. Bush. Anytime the political temperature wasn't going his way, he would talk about Social Security. However he needed to. And anybody who's old enough to remember that, you'll remember. He would say things like, Democrats are coming after your Social Security. Yep. And were they? Nobody's coming after anything. It's like the third rail in politics. Nobody's ever going to touch Social Security. If you hear that, that's called look over here while I do something with my other hand. It's sleight of hand. But they do it all the time. And that's all Trump is doing. He's doing what politicians do. And he's doing a great job. He's got us talking about it. Suzanne in Toronto, California, I wish you a Merry Christmas and a happy birthday, even if I don't know when your birthday is. Thank you. Let us continue. Wait, do I have time for continue or do I have to pause here, Mr. Producer? All right. You know what? I'm going to take the pause right here because then they're going to cut you off. And then we're going to come back and we're going to go to the Bronx, to Washington, D.C., to Texas, Pennsylvania, and so much more. 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. Rich Valdes filling in for the great one.
Mark Levin.
You voted big government out and efficient government in. Well, now it's time to trim the fat from big wireless. If you're still on the other big name providers, I have one question. Why? Pure Talk, my cell phone company, gives you the exact same service on the exact same towers with better customer service because they're based right here in the United States, all for half the cost. That's right. There's simply no need to spend $85 or $100 per person on your wireless bill, not when you could get unlimited talk, text, and 15 gigs of data with mobile hotspot, just $35 a month. My friends, the average family of four could save about $1,000 a year with Pure Talk while enjoying one of America's most dependable 5G networks. So cut the fat out of your wireless bill. Switch to Pure Talk by going to puretalk.com/Levin. Again, puretalk.com/Levin, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month with Pure Talk, America's wireless company.
All right, amigos, welcome back. We're going to do the speed round here. It's Rich Valdes sitting in for the great one, Mark Levin. And I want to go to Charlottesville, Virginia. Let's check in with Robin on Sirius XM. Go ahead, quickly.
I want to thank you for taking my call, but you just mentioned abolishing the IRS. I've always been a firm believer that the federal government should be getting their money from the states, not from the people. So if you abolish the IRS and come across with a national sales tax where everybody is on a level playing field, I think problem solved.
I agree with you, Robin. I think it's a slam dunk, and Trump has alluded to at least something similar to that, at least on that type of flat tax, fair tax thinking, and I'm all for it. Richie in the Bronx, New York, WABC. Go for it, quickly.
Richie, first of all, just want to say happy Hanukkah to Mr. Mark Levin, and I hope that we all strive to be a little more happy in 2025. Richie, you brought up really quick on the divide and conquer. How quick did people start throwing up the videos of Trump throwing the bounty in Puerto Rico as soon as that guy made that comment in Madison Square Garden?
Yeah, I know, right? Trying to relive the past and say, Trump hates the Puerto Ricans. You must love the bounty. And all I say to them is, listen, I don't remember Barack Obama bringing any bounty to Puerto Rico. I don't remember Joe Biden sitting there doing anything. All he said was, I grew up here with the Puerto Rican community, and I was raised with the Puerto Ricans. Joe Biden's a fake, a phony, and a fraud, Richie.
No way they went to pick up some checks and come back. I don't even think they stayed more than a day down there.
Yeah, exactly. They show face and they keep it moving. Richie in the Bronx, brother, good to hear from you, man. Feliz Navidad. God bless. Let us continue. Where do I want to go here? Bonnie, Madison, Texas, WBAP. Go for it.
Oh, hi, Rich. Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Happy Hanukkah and Merry Christmas. It's Addison, Texas, just to correct.
Thank you.
I have two things I want to say. First, you were talking about illegal immigration in New York. And as far as I'm concerned, they voted for it. They deserve it. I don't feel sorry for them. I have no empathy for them and no sympathy for them.
Here's the thing, Bonnie, that I want you to consider. The New Yorkers never really got a chance to vote for this sanctuary city stuff. They voted for these people. It's not all of them, right? But some of them, right? It's like saying you voted for Biden, you get what you deserve. I don't think you voted for Biden. I know I didn't, right? And there's a lot of people that didn't vote for Adams and Hochul and their predecessors, but they got stuck with these left-wing policies. And that's why I have sympathy, because I was one of them, right? I'm born in Brooklyn, raised out in Jersey now, and I stay in Jersey. But I got to tell you, I would hate for people to fall by the wayside because of bad policy. So I kind of, I've got his back a little bit, Mayor Adams, because I'm thinking, hey, the scales have been removed. You were blind, but now you can see. Amazing grace. Bonnie in Addison, Texas, thank you. We're going to get to the rest of your calls and more straight ahead. Folks, the music means I got to go, but we're coming right back. Hour number 3, action-packed Mark Levin show with me, Rich Valdes, filling in. Don't go anywhere.
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
What's up, America? I am Rich Valdes, Valdes with an S, at Rich Valdes on all of the social media, your liberty-loving Latino amigo. Happy to be here with you, filling in for the great one, Mark Levin. Mark is off for Hanukkah. You're stuck with me for one more hour. I am blessed and honored to be here. And our phone number, if you want to join our conversation, is 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811 if you want to disagree. And a bunch of things I want to talk about tonight. You've got politicians that are out there saying the United States has become an oligarchy, that we have arrived here. One of those said politicians is AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, also known as All Out Crazy herself, the infamous AOC who ran away from me at the Puerto Rican parade some years ago. She says that we have now become an oligarchy. This is cut number 6. Listen to this.
Oh, I don't think we're witnessing the start of an oligarchy. I think we are fully here. We're here. We are here. And we are going to witness very unprecedented moments come January.
We sure are. Unprecedented moments, like a politician Donaldus Magnus, El Trompito, the 45th and 47th president of these United States, El Presidente, he is going to be keeping his word, keeping his campaign promises. That's something that's unprecedented, right, for many Americans. That's why you've got Mexico now bracing themselves for mass deportations, opening up new shelters for illegal immigrants that are going to be repatriated via Mexico, and they're set to open on Inauguration Day. How about that? I think it's a pretty good idea. And it's amazing what you get. This is in red state, by the way. It's amazing what you get when other countries do try to help solve this global humanitarian crisis. And they take the leader of the free world seriously. That would be Donaldus Magnus, El Trompito. You take him seriously, as they should. And guess what? And, we went through this. Remember the last time? I do, right? He was trying to get the MPP policy, the Migrant Protection Protocol, what they call the Remain in Mexico policy. He was trying to get that on the table, and Mexico was being resistant. And they were saying, no, and he said, you know what? I will change the classification of Mexico to a narco-terrorist state, and I will enforce whatever I have to enforce by way of the United States military, if you'd prefer. And guess who changed their tune? It was AMLO, her predecessor. What was his name? Lopez Obrador, right? And look at that. What do you know? They said, we'll go with your MPP, and that stemmed the tide of illegal immigration during the first 4 years of the Trump administration. Lo and behold. Well, now there's reports of new shelters which will hold over 12,000 beds for new arrivals into the country. Isn't that something? And the current president, Marina del Pilar Avila Olmeda, or I should say the governor of Baja California, the 12th largest state in Mexico, she's the one putting this together on behalf of the direction of President Sheinbaum, is I believe her name. So she being Olmeda, the governess, she spoke with reporters earlier this week and explained that Mexico is taking Trump at his word when it comes to conducting mass deportations on day one of his new term. Now, I want to say this. What kind of deportations, if you have a massive immigration problem in any country, what are you going to do? Have sparse, and few and far between immigration deportations? They use this term mass immigration, mass incarceration. Is it not supposed to be en masse? Is it supposed to be rare? I mean, if you have 20 million people by our count that we have accounted for, not considering the people we don't have a count of. If you have 20 million as an estimate, don't you think if you're going to deport, you're going to deport 5 of them? Even if you deported 5,000 of them, that's a drop in the bucket. So clearly, if you have mass immigration, you're going to have mass deportation. I don't know. That makes sense to me. Anyway, the governor saying this is a strategic plan to accommodate exclusively people who get deported after January 20th. We do know throughout Trump's campaign, he threatened to do this, and since he was already president of the United States, we believe this time he will be stricter and tougher when it comes to deportations. Ha ha! If only the left took him this seriously. And I think they are. Finally. We're working to get ready and receive our migrants. This is from the governor of Baja Mexico. Good for her. And good for El Trompito. Good for America. That's what needs to be done, right? Because we can't continue this little charade, however you like to pronounce it. We can't continue to play this little game. The whole thing is out of control. Let me see. There was another one I had for you. I had it lined up here. It was, one of my favorites, Congresswoman Claudia Tenney. She weighs in on the crime that's associated with this. Listen to this one, cut 19.
We've seen horrific things. The woman that got burned alive by an illegal criminal immigrant on the subway. We've seen, all these, young women raped and murdered across the country.
Listen, we're not letting that one go. I don't care what the left says. I don't care if they say, you know what, Rich, you and your right-wing Republican crazies on talk radio keep talking about this poor woman using her name in vain. No. I am going to continue to talk about her life. This woman paid a price that she didn't have to pay. That shouldn't happen. I was disgusted and outraged when a girl that is the same age as my daughter, doing what my daughter does, going to college and being 23, was attacked and murdered. That messed me up. Thank God my kid is finally finished with school, and she's safe now, because I felt like she wasn't safe while she wasn't with her mom or I. But let me tell you, scary times. Now, the subway, yeah, used to be you might get into a fight. Used to be, sleep with one eye open, clutch your purse, maybe have a knife on you, carry your mace. No. Now it's you need a fire extinguisher, right? I mean, if you are begging for the days of Bernard Goetz, if you don't know who he is, Google him, for people to start riding the subways packing heat, keep going. It's coming back. When you start setting fire to people, I don't care who you are, what your politics are. I would love for some serious news agency, a serious one, whomever, Newsmax, OAN, whomever, Fox, any one of them. But somebody that will honestly do this. Maybe our friend John McLaughlin, who does great surveys and polling. But I would love to see a poll on all New Yorkers, or a good sample size of New Yorkers, irrespective of political affiliation, and ask them, what are your thoughts on deporting illegal aliens? Now, in reaction to this, in reaction to the fact that a woman who was sleeping was set on fire and died. She got up trying to survive and burnt to death standing up. Now, for many people who may or may not know, when you burn like that, your nerves stop working. And this sends your body into a state of shock, and this ultimately kills you. And many were wondering why this woman stood up and then froze. Obviously, you and I haven't been burned alive. But this is the reason for it. Her nervous system was shot. And the poor woman burnt to death standing up. There's no way that she didn't feel that pain until she couldn't feel it because her nerves wouldn't allow her to. And she couldn't move her body anymore. Absolutely brutal. Drowning, death by fire, to me, horrible ways to go. Not that there's a good one, but those are probably amongst the worst. Getting eaten alive by like a bear or a tiger, that's also probably up there. But I gotta say, horrific, gruesome, terrible. And man, just disgusting. And I would love to know, all these people, whether they're BLM, whether they are the Latinx crowd, whoever you are, I want to know, do you really stand behind that? Are you still there, thumping your chest, fighting to let every last immigrant in? Because it's clear we're seeing it. They took over the buildings in Colorado. Rapes all over the place, right? The one in Coney Island in Brooklyn. That was crazy. They held the woman down. They held her boyfriend down, too, and they dragged her under the boardwalk, like that famous 50s song, Under the Boardwalk. That really happened just a few months ago. He watched his girlfriend get raped. He was at knife point. Who does that? What kind of savage does it? Guess what? You can almost predict this stuff like you are the amazing Kreskin. An illegal immigrant, probably from Venezuela. Now, maybe they weren't from Venezuela. I think those happen to be. But the point is, it's not all the people from Venezuela. It's not all the people from Guatemala. It's the fact that, like Trump said, they're sending us, they're rapists, they're murderers. He wasn't lying. But the media roasted him, right? So here we are, and I would love to know, do New Yorkers still feel this way? Are there still people that are like, we have to give new Americans a chance? Or do we say, hold on a second, I invited in one person for dinner who was hungry and trying to do the good Christian thing and give them something to eat. And now their entire village is in my house and they're trying to rape and pillage us, right? And again, this is not a slight on immigrants at all. My family are not necessarily immigrants, but we're Hispanic. This is not anything ethnocentric or xenophobic or anything like that. This is common sense. This is survival of the fittest. This is, do you want to protect your children, your property, your homeland? Do you respect the rule of law or not? That's where we are. Anyway, I want to get your thoughts on that, and we're going to continue on, bring up a new topic, dating. How dangerous is dating? Well, apparently it's pretty dangerous. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about a couple of other things that I got lined up for you, as well as some of your Christmas stuff that I want to talk about, what you're thinking of for the upcoming new year, and DNA. Guess what? If you went on one of those websites for DNA and they get hacked, what happens? And then what happens if they go bankrupt and they sell your information? Who buys it? Who now owns your genetic code? Well, we're going to talk about that because there's a story about that out there as well. So lots going on, lots to discuss. The phone number, here it is, 877-381-3811. It's me, Rich Valdes, filling in for the great one.
Mark Levin.
All right, amigos, welcome back. Rich Valdes, formerly known as Mr. Call Screener, your liberty-loving Latino amigo. I host a show every night. If you don't know about it, learn about it. RichValdes.com. That's Valdes with an S. And be sure to follow me and check out the podcast as well. But I want to get to you and your calls in a moment, 877-381-3811. But this stuff that we've been talking about, this invasion of criminal aliens in our country. And I'm not trying to vilify anyone, right? I'm letting them vilify themselves, and I'm calling them out for it. It's reaching everywhere. It's not just New York City. It's not just Los Angeles. It's happening all over, right in the middle of the country. Cleveland, Ohio. Listen to Texas. Texas. Sheriff Thaddeus Cleveland.
Almost 3 years ago, we were having about 1,000 apprehensions a year under the Trump administration. When this administration took over, the highest watermark we have had was a 417% increase in illegal alien apprehensions right here in Terrell County. In that same year, which was fiscal year 2022, we had a 469% increase in gotaways.
There you go. Now, these guys, they're on the ground, whether they agree or disagree. They know what's happening. Right, whether they advocate for this or against this. And I'm not saying that he is or isn't. What I'm saying is that it's clear that they were apprehending people, right? The apprehensions had gone up because of Trump, because he was enforcing these policies. This is exactly what you heard the president of Mexico and the governor of Baja. This is exactly what they're talking about. This is the stuff that has to happen. And like I said, this is happening all over the country. That was a sheriff from Texas. But I had looked at something else earlier about what's happening in the middle of the country as well. Nobody is a stranger to this. Everybody is dealing with the plight of this. And I think it's just high time that we've addressed this honestly, where now when you say, we have a problem with illegal immigration and there's a criminal component to this problem that we have, and we shouldn't be shunned for that, right? We shouldn't be ostracized for telling the truth. I mean, that's like the craziest thing ever, right? In my opinion. Anyway, let me see. Let's go to Sam, Cortland, New York, WMW. What's that station? Sam, what station are you on?
I listen on WXHC out of Ithaca.
All right. Shout out to them. Okay. And what's your comment? What do you want to say tonight?
Rich, you do a great job.
Thank you.
When I was listening, you gave a shout out to Claudia Tenney. I am well known to her. I've been with her since 12 when she ran against Hannah. Through my buddy Mike Vasquez, Captain of the United States Marine Corps. He ran.
We thank him for his service. I don't know him personally, but I do know Claudia Tenney. I've interviewed her a number of times on my own show. And she's terrific, and she's been a fighter for New York, as you've pointed out, and I'm glad you've supported her since day one. And she's been terrific, as has been Homan, as has been Trump. And, I mean, we have a solid team of people that are ready to rock and roll in Congress, in the executive branch, and the think tank side of things, like former Homeland Security Secretary Chad Wolf, right? He's on the think tank side now at AFPI. And Trump he's got this thing covered from every angle. And the best part is he's taken seriously. People actually look at him and they say, you know what? you're doing the right thing. And whether they agree or not, they're like, hey, look, this is it, right? That you're going to do what you said you were going to do. And that to me is what we need. Sam, thank you for your call from Cortland, New York. I appreciate that. Shout out to all the listeners up there. And we're going to get to the rest of your calls momentarily. Chicago, Wichita, D.C., Pottsville, Yonkers. D.C.'s coming up next, by the way, as soon as we get there. And there's a couple of topics I want to continue with before we finish. A quick follow-up on what we talked about on making America healthy again. There's some new information that somebody pointed out on Twitter. And it was Yitzhak Ben Yosef. Thank you for that. Happy Hanukkah to you. About the potential for muscle loss in the heart related to these weight loss drugs. Back to that supposed beef between Bobby Kennedy and Elon Musk. But I also want to talk about some of the craziness of dating. And there was one more topic out there. Don't go anywhere, folks. It's Rich Valdes sitting in for the great one, Mark Levin.
Mark Levin, an unapologetic patriot and unapologetic constitutionalist. You can reach him at 877-381-3811.
All right, America, welcome back, amigos. It's Rich Valdes filling in for the great one, Mark Levin. He's off for Hanukkah, but he will be on your television screens mañana, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on the Fox News Channel. Make sure you check out his show, Life, Liberty, and Levin. That, again, the great one, Mark Levin. I want to wish his family a very happy Hanukkah. Mark is a unapologetic patriot. That's true. But so is the rest of his family. And over the years, I've had the opportunity to meet his wife, Julie, and her son, and his mother-in-law, Miss Sylvia. She's lovely, and really just a wonderful family. All patriots, honestly, good people. So happy Hanukkah to them. And we continue our program. This is the Feliz Navidad special with me, Rich Valdes. I'm going to continue with you guys. 877-381-3811. And I was married for 10 years, got divorced, was single forever, had a girlfriend for a little while. I think we're broken up now, or on a break or a pause, whatever. But dating, when you're in the single dating game, it's an interesting thing. And I saw something as I was scrolling on social media in between the posts from my buddies like Curtis Lewa. This is Curtis Lewa. You know him, right? And I always have him on my feed, and he always posts some really good stuff, but not about dating. This one was about dating. It was very interesting. And this woman comes out, and she says the most bizarre thing about what's your job to ask on a date. Wait till you hear this. I think you're going to be shocked.
I'm HIV positive, right? And this is just a PSA to those that are not HIV positive. Disclosure is my choice. When I disclose and how I disclose and who I disclose to is up to me. I find it so crazy how people are telling me that I need to disclose before I go on a date, that I need to disclose before I kiss somebody. This is the craziest one. Before I even tell them my name. It's not happening. I don't think that it's my responsibility to tell someone that I'm HIV positive if they are treating me as if I'm not. Your health is your responsibility. Adopt the mindset of medical practitioners. Assume that everyone has something until they prove to you that they do not. Why are you kissing a stranger or trying to kiss a stranger that you just met? Why are you trying to have intercourse with someone raw that you just met? You don't know me from a hole in a wall. Why are you trying to put your thing inside of me without any kind of protection? Why do I have to be the one to say, hey, chill out, I'm HIV positive, instead of you asking, taking the time to know me, get to know me, let's go get tested together if you want to take the next step. Why do I have to be the one protecting you from yourself? No, baby, that is not my responsibility. And I just wanted to make that clear. Okay, love you, bye.
Hold up, wait a minute. Espérate. This woman just said she is HIV positive, and it is not her job to let you know that before she kisses you, before she tells you her name, and everything else. Now, maybe that stuff is debatable, but the question becomes, at what point will you say it? Are you just going to go ahead and go through the deed with someone and then go ahead and say, well, you didn't ask, so don't ask, don't tell? I think that's illegal in some states, maybe not all. That's crazy town, right? And the reality is, I can't imagine, thankfully, I'm not really on the dating scene like that. After hearing this, who'd want to be? right? Imagine you're on Tinder, swiping left, swiping right, doing whatever you do on Tinder. And you meet, and this woman, you know, maybe not my type per se, but a decently attractive person that I'm sure somebody would be interested in, and otherwise wouldn't assume that she has some sort of, you know, chronic viral issue like HIV positive. And wow, I'm thinking, man, this is tough, right? Now, she's younger than I am. So it makes me think, is that the trend for the 30-somethings, the millennials or Gen Z or whomever it is? Is that what's going on? Imagine you go on a date with some pretty girl, or vice versa if you're a woman, and nobody tells you anything. Now, I know from the commercials that play incessantly when I stream my favorite TV shows that there are all these drugs that can make you undetectable, antiviral, this and that. But that's for people in a particular community where that's very prevalent, like the people that get monkeypox. But the rest of us, I think, don't face that and don't expect that and don't think, you know, we're thinking about how's your credit score, and you're not like an ex-con or something, right? Now we have new questions to add. Not like, you know, so tell me about your parents. No, it's, you know, do you get along well with your family? Are you HIV positive? Crazy, right? So if you have any crazy dating stories, I would love to hear them, because I love doing some good old school talk radio and good old school talk radio topics like this one that elicit, you know, the wisdom of you all, the listeners. 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. Of course, we're also talking about everything that we've talked about tonight, whether it's making America healthy again, the immigration crisis, and everything else that's going on. But I would like your thoughts on this. Now, this doesn't end there. We're going to continue a little bit more of this dating topic. But I do want to get to some of your calls, because I know that there was some questions on a number of things. And let me see. Where do we go? I left off at D.C. Joe, Washington, D.C., WMAL. Go right ahead.
Yeah.
Now, before we talk about your topic, I want to talk about mine. What do you think about this woman saying that she doesn't have to tell you that she's HIV positive?
I think she should tell you.
Yeah, I agree. All right, go ahead. Tell me, what's on your mind?
Yeah. Well, two things. One was the people that have died recently in the deaths. Can they go after the Biden and Harris administration for wrongful death?
Well, I'm going to say, in my limited knowledge as a non-attorney, and I don't play one on the radio, I'll say this. All politicians, while performing their duties that they were appointed or elected to do, operate with immunity. For the most part, right? Within their purview. And arguably, a lot of things fall within their purview. For example, if you're Dr. Anthony Fauci, and you can make the argument that part of your purview is to develop vaccines for drugs that have been made purposefully and intentionally more lethal, because you're simulating what could be a mutation that may happen in the future, and you farm it out through grants to places like EcoHealth Alliance et al., then guess what? You get off the hook. Now, if someone could effectively bring him up on charges and say, no, sir, you were abusing the power of your office, intentionally making this virus more lethal through gain-of-function research, doing this for the express purpose of creating a biological weapon that in the wrong hands could be used as a weapon across the world against all peoples, of all faiths, of all nationalities. I don't believe that we have this ability to make this case. I just don't. I don't believe that you will find a scientific community that will really have your back. I think every now and again you'll find some really courageous scientists and medical practitioners that will say otherwise, like Dr. Robert Malone, like Dr. Jay Bhattacharya from Stanford, and others that will say these things. But even they are pretty clear in that while they think this is what's going on, they're not prosecutors. These are the medical people. So maybe they can be the expert witnesses because they were shut up, just like RFK. And I think that's a step in the right direction, right? Bobby Kennedy Jr. being HHS secretary kind of nips it in the bud, make sure this doesn't happen again, right? It's kind of like your house gets burglarized and you want to go after the burglar. Burglar might have an alibi. Maybe there was no cameras. It's hard to make the case. What's the first thing you do? You make sure your house is secure. You get a dog. You make sure your gun is loaded and it's close by. Make sure it doesn't happen again. And I think that's the stage that we're in. I wish that there were a way. And if maybe the great one, Mark Levin, could take me to school on this when he comes back, and he could say, you know what? No, Richie was wrong. Richie was wrong, and we've got a slam dunk case, and we can lock these people. I would love that. I would absolutely love if Mark Levin would say that. I just don't think he's saying that. I don't think anybody's saying it. I don't think that they can get a wrongful death lawsuit out of this stuff because of the vaccines, the protections that they've been given. Now, can we work to undo those protections? I think there's an avenue that we might see some success with down the road. But I don't think it's going to happen just because of the way Congress has protected the vaccine companies. Joe in Washington, D.C., WMAL, big shout out to you guys. I'll be with you soon enough. Thank you for that, Joe. I appreciate it. Let me see. Do I have time, Mr. Producer? Okay, great. Let's go to Dale, Marshfield, Wisconsin, WFAU. Dale, go for it. You're on with Rich Valdes.
It's an honor to be on here, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. What about the $28 million that Nancy Pelosi stole from the COVID fund? Did you see that?
I've seen so much proliferation of money. I mean, $28 million is a small number compared to the massive spending and I would dare say theft, right? Because I would say it's theft, but I would say it's probably a hard to prove theft. Because again, this woman was elected by some wackos in California that said they wanted her in charge. And then wackos within Congress elected her as speaker and gave her power. And these are the things that happen, right? When we make, what is it, Obama? Elections have consequences. Yeah, he wasn't kidding. They do. And now the consequences, we're turning back the hand of time here a little bit by electing El Trompito, and we're righting a wrong. I'm not here defending these people. Listen, I'm with you. I wish I could sit here and beat my chest and say every last one of them is going to jail. Every last one of them is going to end up in leg irons in an orange jumpsuit behind bars because this is America, land of the free, home of the brave. Justice will prevail. I would love to say that, and it might even do great for the ratings. I just don't know I could put my money behind that. I don't know that that's going to happen because you know what? It hasn't happened before. So I don't really have a precedent for it. Now, that doesn't mean that El Trompito is not going to have a miraculous term. And maybe we do get those things. Maybe an example is set and a precedent is set where this doesn't ever happen again. But I think when he's saying we're going to make sure this doesn't happen again is we're going to let people know this is a thing and we're going to make sure we prevent it from happening again by, fixing things. It's kind of like when I was a kid. When I was a kid, a big truck pulled up on Ocean Avenue and had these boxes that were, it said VCR, video cassette recorder. And they started selling them, I think at the time for $100 or $100 or $200. It was a lot of money. It was the late 1980s. And again, it was very cheap compared to what they cost at, Crazy Eddie and the other electronics stores. They were going for like $1,000 at the time. But lo and behold, people started buying them for $100, $150, $200, haggling and, taking this big heavy box home. And when they got home and they opened up their beautifully packaged VCR, inside was a small wood pallet crate wrapped in chicken wire filled with wet newspaper. They had been scammed, right? And I think that's what happens in politics lately. We're getting scammed by a lot of politicians. Can we put these guys in jail? I'm pretty sure they'll never see a day in jail, at least from that particular crime. But we can make sure we don't get duped again. And I think that's kind of where we are. So anyway, that's my thought. Hopefully I'm wrong, right? Hopefully I'm wrong. And these people all do wear jumpsuits. And, you guys can tell me, I told you so, Valdes. You didn't have enough faith. I really hope you guys are right and I'm wrong. Anyway, Dale, Marshfield, Wisconsin, WFAU. Shout out to you guys in the middle of America. Folks, I shall return. Rich Valdes in for the great one.
Mark Levin.
All right, amigos, welcome back. So imagine you're on a date, right? And one of the questions that comes up is, so have you ever done one of those ancestry DNA things online? and you turn and you say, like I would, well, I don't want to share that information with people. I'm kind of leery about giving my information to people. I don't trust, not only I don't trust the government, I don't trust Amazon, I don't trust this one, I don't trust that one, I don't trust anybody. I'm one of those. Well, imagine what they would say. Maybe they turn to you and they say on this mega date that you're on, they turn to you and they say, well, you know what? Me too. Because I heard that there was a big data breach a couple of years ago, and now I hear this company's bankrupt, and due to the bankruptcy, they might sell all of your information. Listen to this.
The genetic testing company 23andMe, you may want to protect your information as the company faces bankruptcy. 15 million people submitted their DNA for testing over the last 20 years. The bankruptcy could lead to a sell-off, and customers' genetic details could be part of the deal. The company was founded on a pledge to not share that information, but if the company moves, the DNA data goes with it.
I can see other companies buying that data, insurance companies to begin with, especially health and life insurance companies.
You can delete your information by logging into your account, then go to settings, scroll to where you see 23andMe data and click view. Then insert your birthday information and find the permanently delete data tab. Once your account is deleted, your personal information will no longer be used in future research.
Well, just imagine that. Just imagine future employers, dating people can just be like, oh, hold on, I could buy your data now. I know your DNA. Let me see if you're good stock. Let me see if there's a history of cancer in your family. Let me see if there's this. Let me see if there's that. Let me see if you come from a part of the world that is very tall, because I want tall kids. I mean, just the possibilities are endless of people getting this information and how crazy it can be. And I was going to go to caller one, but I think caller one disappeared. He had an interesting dating story. But I'd love to know your thoughts on this as well as everything else that we've been talking about tonight. Again, the phone number 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. Let me see. Where do we go? Let's go to Jeff, Pottsville, Pennsylvania, Sirius XM. Jeff, have you ever done any of this ancestry DNA online? All right, Jeff isn't there. Let's ask Robert the same question. Robert in Yonkers, New York. Have you ever done any of this ancestry DNA stuff?
No, and I will never do that.
Yeah, it doesn't. It interests me, to be frank with you. I would love to know. I mean, I know a little bit of my family history. It goes back to like the conquistadors in Spain and when they went to Cuba and then Puerto Rico. But outside of that, you know, I haven't really, I haven't really done it to dig deep. But I'd love to know. Anyway, tell me what's on your mind tonight, Jeff. Robert, excuse me.
I'd like to talk about illegal immigration. There's a way. Look, just yesterday, I think, I always thought that bald eagle was the national bird. It was just declared the national bird after about 250 years. The English language is a de facto language in the United States of America. It needs to be the national language. And people that come here need to know how to speak, read, and write English to begin to eliminate the confusion of divide and conquer that has happened here by having two separate languages written and spoken.
Yeah. Well, I don't know that we have two. I think we have a whole bunch. I mean, it depends on, again, I'm a New Yorker. So, I mean, you can get on the train, you end up in Little Italy. You get on the train again, you end up in Chinatown. There's a whole bunch of places you can go. I'm not against it. I think you got to speak English wherever you go. As far as the government mandating it, that I'm usually against. Amigos, thank you for being with me tonight. Hasta la próxima. Take care. Good night. God bless you, America. I'm Rich Valdes. Happy New Year and Feliz Navidad.